Okay, so for today's deep dive, we're switching gears a bit. I know you're a fan of military and spy thrillers, so I thought we could dissect the TV series Lioness. It's been getting a ton of buzz, particularly for how it portrays female operatives.
Yeah, lioness has definitely stirred up some interesting conversations. What really grabs me, though, is the fact that it's actually grounded in reality, pulling from a real CIA program.
Oh, wow. Really?
They utilize these teams, these teams of female U.S. Marines, and they were deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Wow, so there really were these lioness teams. That's incredible. What was their main role? I mean, were they actually going out on missions?
So the idea for these teams stemmed from a cultural, I guess you could say a cultural necessity. You see, often male soldiers couldn't really interact with local women in these regions due to, well, cultural norms, right? So this created a kind of blind spot, an intelligence gap. And the Lioness teams were brought in to bridge that gap.
So they were like cultural liaisons.
More than that, really. I mean, yes, they facilitated communication, but they also gathered um, crucial intel, built relationships within these communities. They were vital to counterterrorism efforts, actually.
Okay, I see. So thinking about your background in military strategy, how do you see this program, this real-life program, I mean, reflected in the show's portrayal of how the CIA actually works?
Well, I think the show does a decent job of, showcasing the intricacies of these operations, especially the human element. It's not all just about drones and satellites, right? There's this huge emphasis on understanding the culture, building trust, utilizing every asset, human assets especially. Both the real Lioness teams and how the show portrays them, it's a very unique approach, I think, to intelligence gathering. It leverages, it leverages cultural understanding, personal connections, and it's quite fascinating to see that play out.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And it seems like they've managed to, balance that real world inspiration with like all the excitement of a good spy thriller. I mean, I've read some really positive reviews, especially about Zoe Saldana's performance. How she really captures the strength and kind of the vulnerability of being a CIA operative.
Absolutely. Her portrayal of Joe, the leader of the Lioness team, is really something else. But what I think truly elevates Lioness is, well, it's how it delves into the emotional burden of this kind of work. I mean, these women are constantly facing life or death scenarios. They navigate incredibly dangerous situations, and there's this constant grappling with the personal sacrifices they have to make. The show doesn't shy away from that.
Yeah, it's not just about the action, right? There's a real depth to it.
Exactly.
And from what I've heard, season 2 introduces a new character, Captain Josie Carrillo, and I'm really interested to see, how their dynamic plays out. What are your thoughts on their relationship?
Their relationship, well, it's the core of the show's exploration of leadership, mentorship, camaraderie. You see Joe, the seasoned operative, guiding Josie, who's incredibly talented, but also, still new to the field. The trust they have to build between them it's paramount. They're in situations where one wrong move could be, well, devastating.
That makes me think back to the real Lioness teams.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine operating in those conditions? What kind of training did they go through to be able to, handle that pressure and trust each other so completely?
Oh, their training was, well, it was rigorous, no other way to put it. They had to master traditional combat skills, of course, but there was also this heavy focus on cultural and linguistic training, very specialized. They were experts in, well, not just warfare, but diplomacy too.
Mhm.
Cultural sensitivity, this very unique skill set allowed them to really build those bonds of trust with the communities, and they could access, intel that wouldn't have been obtainable otherwise.
It sounds like Linus. The show, it's not just a fictional story. It's tapping into, a really significant part of history, the experiences of these real women.
Absolutely.
And of course, there's the portrayal of the CIA and the U.S. Marine Corps institutions you're always interested in. How does the show present them?
I think it offers a pretty insightful look into their inner workings, especially within, the framework of counterterrorism. You see the strategic planning involved, the interagency cooperation, the constant, the constant balancing act between gathering intelligence and managing risk.
Right. And that makes me wonder, how does the show, how does it balance that need for entertainment, to keep us on the edge of our seats with the authenticity of these incredibly complex operations? Does it lean more towards, dramatization? Or does it, do you think, capture the reality of these, these institutions. Yeah.
I think it strikes a pretty good balance. It's definitely entertaining. I mean, you have these high stakes missions, compelling characters, but it doesn't lose sight of the weight of responsibility, the difficult decisions, the consequences of those decisions. It's not just a lighthearted action flick. It's got some depth to it.
So for our listener, today we've gone deep into a show that not only delivers those thrills of a spy drama,
Hmm.
but also sheds light on a, a lesser known part of military history.
Hmm.
Lioness highlights those crucial roles that women played in counterterrorism and explores the complexities of, navigating cultural differences, those nuances in a war zone. It's really eye-opening.
Yeah, and maybe even more importantly, it challenges, I think, our conventional ideas of what a soldier or a spy looks like and makes us really question our assumptions and recognize those contributions, those incredible contributions of women in these fields that have traditionally been, male dominated.
And with that, I'll leave you with something to think about, something to mull over. How do you think this portrayal of female operatives, both the fictional ones and the real-life inspiration, how does that affect our understanding of gender roles within the military and espionage? It's a question worth exploring, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Make sure to check out Lions and you can see what you think.